watching the ships roll in, then I watch them roll away again. Yeah. I'm sitting on the dock of the bay, watching the tide roll away. Just sitting on the dock of the bay, wasting time.
Around. I say ships move the money that make the world move.
Who navigates those large international ships?
How often are international ships required to be surveyed and inspected?
Maritime also protects our seas and borders by way of our local Bahamas Defense
It is
Force.
very sad to say that out of 1,500 plus ships that are registered under the Bahamian flag, only a very small amount of Bahamians are employed.
Maritime Matters.
And pleasant good evening to you, our valued listening audience. Welcome one. Welcome all. Welcome to Maritime Matters. I am your host, Captain Glenn Bain. Our producer for our tonight's show is the great one, the maestro himself, Mr. Craig Gibson. We're coming to you live via Love 97 FM. This is Tuesday, the 21st day of April, 2026. And if it's a Tuesday, it's maritime tick, 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 matters. We encourage that if you're driving and tuning with us, please do so cautiously and ensure to take your time in getting wherever it is you are trying to get safely. As the saying goes, drive to arrive alive. Our sponsors for tonight's show are 101 Pharmacy and also Island Care Pharmacy. For all your medication needs, check out my little cousin, Shantia Heel McBride, and her lovely team at 101 Pharmacy in Nassau, and of course, Island Care Pharmacy up there in downtown Freeport. We are secondly sponsored by Bahamas Maritime Connection Limited, and at BMC, we provide a full slate of ISPS maritime security services. And I spell good night to my Auntie May up there in Freeport. Auntie May, boy, if you already know Auntie May by now, you couldn't have been listening to the show. Auntie May is 93 years old and still going strong. Strong. Continue to do your thing, Auntie May. You know you can't run up in there, girl. Auntie May got all the accolades in place. Auntie May is dissect the show left, right, and center. And you know, Auntie May, she getting a little. Auntie May tell me I think she had a little fall and hurt her hip a little bit, but she back and tack and rolling. Auntie May, remember now, you getting up there, so you ain't got no more gristle. Gristle for the little young ones. I even ain't got no more gristle. You got bones now, so you ain't no falling down and bouncing back up. Sometimes when you fall down, we ain't want you fall down hard, we ain't want you fall down at all. So please be extremely careful, be very cautious, because we don't want you to be falling down, Auntie May. You know, dear listener, we are on the verge of what appears to be the most challenging elections in recent recollection. And I don't know why it seemed to be so challenging. I mean, the silly season just look a little sillier than the silly season normally be, eh? And anybody, you don't have to pay that much attention to see that. You got people pulling hard. Nobody, except nobody, knows how this cat can jump surrounding the ballot counts. Nobody know. People could tell you what they think. They could see, because the collective decide that. And the people who make that decision, you don't hear nothing from, because the majority of voters you ain't gonna never hear. Now, if you don't believe that, that's on you. We can hope. We can pull. We can try to convince others. But we do not truly know how this cat can jump. excuse me. The reality is that, like I said, the majority of voters, they don't have where from. In this country, this our Bahama land, history would reflect that the conscience of the people speak loud and clear when the count is tallied. And the first time I recall hearing about the voice of the people is the voice of God is in 1992, when Sir Lyndon, after being Prime Minister for 25 consecutive years, admitted defeat. And in his speech, he said, the voice of the people is the voice of God. And then we know we have a lot of people who, before election comes, oh, God, tell me this. Oh, I had a dream and God came to me and said that. And anybody could dream and anybody could say God say this and God say that. But God speaks through the majority. The majority of people will make their decision, and collectively that decision would be the voice of the people and the voice of God. God works through people. So, when you're going around talking about, oh, the PLP got this, boy, we could kill them. Oh, boy, they F them, this F them time, F them could do this. Oh, the COI new and everybody like how they looking. And yeah, nothing wrong with saying those things. But don't fool yourself into thinking that when you say those things, you get into the majority of people that are going to cast ballots. Don't fool yourself into thinking that when you say those things, you are virtually changing the mind of somebody who already have their mind made up. Because this thing is a collective. And that's the reason why we individually go to cast our ballot. We don't know what the next fella could do, and that ain't our business. Excuse me. Some may tell you they could do this and they end up doing that. Some might be like me, go in the booth and change your mind at the last minute. That happened to me before. So at the end of the day, in this country, we could continue to call on our belief. However, we cannot truly know the wishes of the majority until the count is in. And not only for your polling division, because every polling division got what you call a presiding officer. I said I was a presiding officer before, so I got a good understanding of how election works, right? And the presiding officer is really there to preside over the vote all day long, and they got a deputy to see that things are happening in accordance with the rules. And we had meetings to say what the rules are and all the rest of that. I don't want you to take this election monitoring or election personnel. These people are people who were trained to do this, right? And in addition to that, you got all kind of people in the room. I think each party, as I recall it from when I was 1997 when I was a presiding officer, right? I only did it once, and we had, I think each party is allowed to have, or each candidate is allowed to have 4 representatives in the room at all times, because they're watching each voter. And they got to be convinced that everything cool. This person look like they qualified. Let's check the counterfoil against this person's name, the voter's card. And these people aren't just there because they could be there. These people are there to be sharks. And they could protest. And they could call somebody to vote on a yellow ballot instead of white ballot or whatever color the ballot is. But you know, when there's a protest, you still vote. But the color ballot you vote on, because at the end of the day, if those counts are very close, those yellow ballots would be taken and further scrutinized for the reason why they were yellow, and say yay or nay, this can count or this ain't can count, right? So the procedures are quite intact. And so when people talk about, oh, they can rob this, robbing no election. Ain't no robbing no election, not in this country, based on what we had in the past. We used to have something called floating ballots and this thing, and all that gone away with now, eh? Of course, what we have to watch is that every person that shows up to vote is duly eligible. And if there's question about that, the noise will start in the room, I can tell you, because everybody want to know this thing to be fair. Now I here to talk about election. We could talk about that till we blue in the face. All us got our opinions on that, but I can tell you that I think elections in this country have proven to be fair. That don't mean nobody can try to cheat at no time, eh? However, we cannot truly know the wishes of the majority until the count is in. That's it. We cannot know who might be the next Minister of Transport, with the responsibility of maritime transportation, because in this country, from the time I know, anything to do with boats, transporting by boats, and all the rest of that goodness came under the Minister of Transport. Now, there may have been times when the Minister of Transport would have had to engage more than just transport, because as it stands now, or as it always stood, the core of the Ministry of Transport included, the biggest one was road traffic, eh? Because we talk about transport, you got to be talking about land transport and sea transport, and, well, I can't say air transport, because many times they took that away, right? So, land and sea transport within the Bahamas. And so, road traffic is I think the largest contingent as far as people employed is concerned, as far as the amount of activities, you got way more cars, I think, than we have boats. That has to be registered. Then you got all the taxis, and you got all the jitneys, and you got the same thing in marine transport. You got people with their private boats, it's like how you get private car. You got people with commercial equipment like jet skis and parasail boats and ferry boats, and we even got the bigger mail boats, and we got the vessels that are home trade going to Florida and all the rest of that. So we got a series of sections under maritime transportation also that need to be paid attention to. And so all of this comes under the Minister of Transport, eh? And then in addition to those, for some reason, the post office is always under the Minister of Transport as well. I think always. I think maybe once or twice they took it away and put it under something. But for the most part, the post office department came under the Ministry of Transport. And I don't know why. Maybe that's the most suitable ministry they found to put post office under, right? But that's the way it is. I think the post office still remain under the Ministry of Transport. And then, of course, you get the port department and the Maritime Authority, which used to be Ministry of Department of Maritime Affairs. Those are the two responsible for the oversight of maritime transport or marine transportation. They deal with the boats. International Maritime Authority deal with all them big ships that carry our flag around the world and trade. And the port department deal with anything within this country that really doesn't go out of this country to do trade on the sea. And so that's how this maritime thing is kind of split up, right? So we don't have a clue at this point who is going to be our next Minister of Transport with responsibility of what this show is all about, maritime. Maritime in under the BMA and Maritime under the Port Department. That individual, whoever's going to be the Minister of Transport, will that individual be aware of the requirements for maritime transportation or marine transportation? Did we ever have an individual holding that seat that understood the requirements for marine transportation to tick in this country? In other words, do we ever have anybody serving at the top post who really know the details of how the BMA is supposed to conduct their duties, and how the Port Department is supposed to conduct their duties, and how the Port Authority Board and the Maritime Authority Board is supposed to conduct their duties? Well, yeah, of course we had lawyers and things who could read, but did they read to the extent where they could really, do they have any experience? Is that a call on the line, producer? Do they have any experience in dealing with this type of thing? Calling on Maritime Matters, hello.
Yes. Good afternoon, Captain Bain, Glenn Bain. How are you? Berenice Johnson, the original.
Top shape, Miss Veronique, and getting better all the time. How are you, darling? I haven't heard from you in a long time. Why are you dissing me?
Well, you sort of kind of got affiliated with political groupings, so I said, let me stay off. But however, because of this...
Now, for the political, when it comes to maritime, now, don't throw me off track.
No. Well, see, that is why I stayed off. But now, because this is universal with the Strait of Hormuz, and I told my daughter, if you recall, I told her to put her Holy Bible in her vessel, because she moves through all those areas, right?
Yeah, but Miss Veronique, what you know about the Strait of Hormuz? That's a big term you're using there. Now. We can talk with that.
Yes, sir. Well, this is why when I did my esoteric duties, and I always say keep the British monarchy above the fray of politics, and because what has happened what is happening now are external forces, and you were speaking to the Minister of Transportation.
Correct.
She is not responsible. You had other ministers of transportation are not really responsible. So they are waiting on the MAAIDCC report. That was a pilot project that was done here. It ought to have happened in the 60s. However, it started in the 80s that would have been Jimmy Carter, then Reagan administration, because they attempted to assassinate him. Now, my information I'm going to share with the listening audience. The Strait of Hormuz is controlled by a certain personality and who was present in the Bahamas. She was financiers of several FDIs, okay?
Well, the Strait of Hormuz was a free navigation.
That is happening now.
Yeah, but that was never governed by anybody. That was people. Boats were free to go in and out of there. It's now being controlled by Iran.
Yes. Okay. From there, do you recall when the first Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini?
Yes.
When he exiled over here, you probably were not aware of it.
No, I know. Okay? I know when the Shah was in here
on Paradise Island.
Yes, I remember the Shah house. I know where it is. I used to take my little sweetheart around every now and then, so I know where it is. But
but
Miss Veronique, but they never had no control over this. They never had a need to control the Strait of Hormuz.
No, it's a conflict, and it's intentional because it's a money thing. Okay?
No, they make it a money thing now.
Controversy. No, but not having those shipments out, and they were always anti-America.
But do you know the countries that the Strait of Hormuz have to give access to? You want to name them?
It's a whole. It's the UK, the Eurasia bloc, and
no. Let's name the countries. Let's name the countries. You start off with Oman, right? Oman is to the bottom, and Iran is at the top, and then after Oman you have the We're the one where all the Bahamian people went to party and have fun the other day. The one with the tallest building in Dubai and the UAE,
yes.
right? The UAE. To get to the UAE,
in all those areas, territory,
to get to the UAE, you have to go through the Strait of Hormuz. To get to Qatar, you have to go to the Strait of Hormuz. To get to the ports on the inside there for Saudi Arabia, you got to go through the Strait of Hormuz. To get to Iraq, to get to what the next one name up there, not Qatar, is the next one after
Tehran.
No, Kuwait. No, Kuwait. Tehran is Tehran is the city for Iran. So all those countries cannot not now be receiving freight. They cannot be receiving tankers. They cannot. So the Strait of Hormuz control ships getting to and from any one of those. So Iran is now making it. They're putting the noose because the strait actually goes right into the belly of Iran and comes back out. So you cannot put a ship through there without Iran being able to put bombs on your ship. That's how they're able to control it.
Yeah, but this is why you see the blockade from America. Now,
America blockade is not stopping or is not helping any ship to get through the Strait of Hormuz.
No,
America blockade is out.
They are checking certain things.
Yeah, they're checking things.
Okay.
But they're allowing you, if you come through, if Iran allow you to come through, then they're pulling you in to check you out. But they can't control what goes in and what comes out. Iran controlling that.
Now, Captain, I know you are in control of the maritime, and you know that.
You know my thing.
Where I am coming from is from universal peace with forgiveness. This is our investigations, and this is where our people, not only here in the Bahamas, but throughout the entire world.
Yeah, but there's no universal peace when Russia could do what they want.
You need the information because the person who used to finance many of the FDIs, they used to live in life of peace.
Yes.
I had to investigate that individual.
Yes, but
and the point in fact is she's a lineage
but Ms. Veronique,
Ms. Veronique, out here.
Nadia Khomeini?
Ayatollah
Ayatollah Khomeini.
She was out here in 79.
Yes,
and she's a wicked woman. And she knows, and she's about 99 or so, but she is one of those who takes this embryonic stem cell. Yeah. I know, see, and I was on her trail.
But I don't know.
I know her, right? I'm dealing with a conflict. So don't blame these ministers, because when Minister of Bethel, Minister Philip Bethel, and I think Mr. DeVoe, all the ministers, these small island developing states, they are areas where they are anti-America, and this is where all the controversy come in. And this is why I told them it is needed. Prime ministers only, not wannabe prime minister. No disrespect to Mr. Pintard, because the federal correspondents, they communicated with me when I was posted in the House of Assembly foyer from 2008 until about 2014.
Well, Ms. Verdi, okay? I'm not blaming no Minister of Transport for nothing. I'm saying across the political divide for the past 20, 30 years and beyond, I don't know of any Minister of Transport who had any experience in sailing ships and knowing what ships require and knowing how to regulate those shipping entities like the Port Department and the Maritime Authority from a technical perspective. It never happened.
Yes, but see, this is one of the reasons, because in many cases...
Yes, what is one of the reasons?
The submersibles that are being used in some instances, plenty people are not aware of. This was an esoteric or supreme secretive duty for those who doesn't know what esoteric means.
Yeah, but what that have to do with the person who will be running the departments that have technical things in them that really needs to be addressed? I'm talking about these departments we have in our country, and the minister responsible, just like how you normally get a doctor to be Minister of Health. You normally get an attorney to be the attorney general. It's the same reason why in maritime you should get a maritime professional to be in charge of those two areas.
Yeah,
That's all I said.
Happen because external external forces interference, and that has to be addressed by the Progressive Liberal Party, who has the history.
Yeah.
And we have the history because it started under Sir Lyndon Pinling from 1985. This is the pilot project that I am in.
So the PLP, you're saying the PLP is going to find somebody. You're saying that the PLP or the FNM or the COI is now going to find somebody who is suitably qualified to be able to professionally and technically run the BMA and the Port Department from a perspective of oversight.
They will have access to what is needed and the equipment.
So they don't have it now? They don't have it now?
Have been here. Remember now, this is over 47 years when the first Ayatollah Kohola Khomeini was exiled. That is why you see
but the Ayatollah Khomeini thing comes under Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I ain't gonna do it, Mr. Transport.
No.
That's outside of our country. Our Minister of Transport have absolutely nothing to do with what's going on with the Strait of Hormuz. Nothing.
Yes, they have. They will.
The Minister of the Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Geopolitics.
That's the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Yeah, that's why I say Minister of Foreign Affairs. Minister of Foreign Affairs, absolutely. Now we're on the same page.
Yes, but those who are playing the swing our voters, the vote in, vote out, that has been causing unnecessary malicious deprivation to the citizenry of the Bahamas, first and foremost.
Yeah, but you can only swing yourself.
That has to be corrected through the PLP, because
Yeah, but you can only swing yourself.
I have left the FNM.
If you think you can swing me the vote,
but
Veronique, if you think you can swing me the vote a certain way, you're wasting your time.
No, I'm not saying.
I mean you. I don't know about anybody. No, you said those. You said
why
those.
Why you think I preface? See, God reigns on the just and the unjust, you know.
I'm not talking about you in particular. I'm talking about anybody. Because you say those out there who try to swing.
That's why I preface that you are affiliated with a certain group.
I affiliated with no group. I go in the boot and change my mind. So whatever group I affiliated with, they're wasting their time.
Your mind, but you can't change your mind. God could change your mind.
But God is
the body belongs to the Almighty God, and many people do not acknowledge that the Almighty God, who is Jesus of Nazareth, and that's the only name need to be called, because you have all other forms of labels, and that's when I told Mr. Jones, latitudinarianism is in full effect, and we are not dealing with regular activities. We need to know how to command the spiritual and the physical realms.
Thank you very much.
This is nothing to deal with just regular crime.
So
we need the comfort of our people and to improve the quality of life. That's what I have to offer.
So what you recommend?
Our people are living, and plenty of them are crying and complaining.
So what
they
you
do
recommend?
not understand what is going on, and this is where I'm sharing with the Progressive Liberal Party. That's my choice.
Absolutely, and you know I ain't touching that, because if that's your choice, that's your choice. I ain't got no choice.
But the point of fact is, we have 8 suspects in the FNM, and they know about it because they do. All the phone numbers have been changed, and it ought not to have been changed, especially the Commissioner of Police 325-7601.
So you saying we have a suspect? We have a suspect in the FNM to say who could be the Minister of Transport before time?
Well, that will be up to Prime Minister Edward Brave Davis.
Okay, so we understand. Who chooses that? Well, I thank you so much for your contribution, because you know you always on point.
And I still remember, Annie May is okay. God bless her and all your family. Miss Gwen is your mommy, right?
Gwenny, yeah. Miss Gwenny.
Yeah, well, Miss Gwenny here, boy.
May her soul rest in peace. Miss Gwenny here, boy.
She passed?
Yeah, man, from 2019. Mommy dead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I wasn't aware. I thought she was still alive.
No, I wish.
God bless her. And once you choose Jesus of Nazareth, that's the only name.
Thank you very much.
Satan flee, and all witches and warlocks tremble.
Thank you,
Miss Veronique. Take care. God bless you.
I appreciate you, darling.
Bye.
Bye. That's my Miss Veronique. She easy. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Maritime Matters, and on this show, we talk maritime. We had a good little intervention just now by Lady Veronique Johnson. Very, very informed lady. She always put a twist on things, which is fine. But she's one of our frequent callers, and I love her for that. She dared to call. Some of y'all wouldn't even dare to call you in a skirt. Veronique ain't never scared. So we were talking about who may become the next Minister of Transport. We don't know if that person is going to be the incumbent coming out of the PLP, because we don't know who go in. We don't know if that person is going to be identified by the hierarchy of the FNM and placed as Minister of Transport, and they would have had previous Minister of Transports in that regime before. We don't know if the COI will have an opportunity to appoint a Minister of Transport, because somehow they emerge as a government of this country. We don't know. Maybe we could guess and we could say what we want to say, but guess what? We do not know. So don't play God. God will speak and God will let us know when the returns come in, eh? That's all I said. Now, there are a number of items that remain high on the list of maritime priorities that, in my humble opinion, need to be addressed in a systemic way by whoever we're going to put there, or whoever the party that we put in will put there as the Minister of Transport. And I ain't going to let these things rest. And if it be the incumbent, that's fine. And if it be someone new, well, I don't know. That'd be fine, because they have to know, because I'm not going to let it rest. It's my job as a maritime professional to keep these things in the air of whoever is not only governing the country, but in charge specifically over those two maritime agencies, the Port Department and the Bahamas Maritime Authority. And so I'm not going to renege on that. I'm not going to relax on that. These are the things that I can keep putting forward. And these are not new things. They're not new in any way. But was simply not addressed across the political divide. These things ain't just come up under the current Minister of Transport, Mr. Kobe Davis, Jobette Kobe Davis. This ain't that. I ain't blaming her. These things was around for years, for decades, and still remain. So what I'm saying, from my perspective, we need to take this to whoever excuse me, is going to emerge as our Minister of Transport. And you know what would have been good? It would have been so good if we would know who is earmarked to be the next Minister of Transport under, first of all, the incumbent PLP. Well, the current Minister, Jobette Kobe Davis, remain the Minister of Transport, because now remember now, last election, moving into that election, the previous PLP Minister of Transport was Glenys Hannah Martin. Mrs. Glenys Hannah Martin. She used to be the Minister of Transport, and she was sent to education. So coming back into this now, if the PLP were to remain the government of this country for another lap, would Ms. Kobe Davis be replaced and sent to another ministry? Or it may be decided that we can let Ms. Kobe Davis be the Minister for Energy only, because in my opinion, energy in the next 5 years is going to be more important than the Ministry of Transport, than the Ministry of anything. Because, as Sister Veronique Johnson said, she brought to our attention that the Strait of Hormuz is causing disturbances in the world. You can remember that 20% of the world's energy source, particularly natural gas, liquefied natural gas. Of course, refined products like diesel and gasoline and fuel oil, all them too, you know. But that Strait of Hormuz is causing shortages. It's causing cost hikes as we experience it today. And it's going to only get worse if things don't hurry up, get a grip. And so we have to bear in mind that energy, and remember now, before all this happened, the world was seeking to move away from combustible engines that require this energy source from the Persian Gulf. So countries like UAE, Qatar, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Iraq, those countries were being phased out. Well, they were not being phased out as yet, but moves are afoot and continue to be afoot to phase them out by the introduction of wind and solar energy. Wind energy coming from windmills and wind farms, and of course solar energy coming from the nuclear of the sun. The sun is a ball of nuclear that provides a lot of energy. And to capture that, you would need solar panels that will capture the energy and send that energy to what they call inverters. And those inverters either they transform it and send it to storage batteries, or they send it directly to your appliances to be used as ready energy. But of course, when nighttime comes, you got to rely on your batteries. So the world is already moving toward natural energy from wind and solar. So let's say this war, or this I want to call it a noose, slippery noose on the Gulf of Hormuz by Iran, did not happen. It is likely that within 10 years, those countries in there, in the Persian Gulf, those wealthy, filthy rich countries, like the Qatars and the Kuwaits and the UAEs, we know they're filthy rich, right? Because they supply the whole world with more than 20% of its energy. They also supply the whole world with over 30%, or is it 40%, of fertilizers, right? So we know that these countries are filthy rich, and they don't hide it. Everybody knows. There's no secret. What are they going to do when the world has weaned itself away from fossil fuel that got them rich and keeping them rich? Well, they got enough money now and you see with Kuwait, Qatar, all of them have been doing it. They've been getting these nice, spankalocious, pretty big buildings and starting to focus on tourism. And a lot of people are going into those places as a result of the infrastructure they are putting in place. And we're hoping that at the end of the day, this war does not escalate to the extent that some of these places don't get destroyed. Because they're very close to Iran. And it's hard to protect these countries from Iran because they're so close. The only thing connecting them is that little strip of water called the Persian Gulf. And again, as the world weans itself off of fossil fuel, because we got to save the planet, eh? Right now the planet is in danger of all that global warming thing. So as the world weans itself away from fossil fuel, those those that provide the alternative, which is windmills, solar panels, batteries, inverters, those that sell those things are going to be the ones to be getting all this money that these rich Persian Gulf countries was getting, because the world still need energy. And how are we, a little tiny country like the Bahamas, how are we going to navigate our way through this conversion of power from fossil fuel to natural energy from wind and solar? And I've said many times in many shows that we joking. Because what have we decided to do as a country? And then when I say as a country, me and you had no decision in that, right? But we put people in place to make these decisions on our behalf. And that's what the government does, and that's what they're supposed to do. But our government so far have decided that we're going to cut from using that heavy fossil fuel like bunker C and fuel oil and that type of thing, and replace that with natural gas, because natural gas costs far less. Well, it costs less. So we'll go to natural gas for our energy supplier, BPL. And BPL provides through our electric grid. They provide by way of using that fossil fuel with those big generators of Clifton Pier. And they break that down into electricity for us. They use the high tension to send it from Clifton Pier into the town area, and then they break it down by way of transformers that could provide us with the 120 or 240 hertz, watts, what the thing name, volts, right? Voltage. And then of course we plug in our houses, because those transformers provide our houses through our meter the ability to utilize the services. So we have the electric grid in place. Feeding that grid right now is for the most part fuel oil, bunker C type stuff, right? And from time to time, when one of those big generators break down, you got to go to the diesel generator, which is huge. And I think those diesel generators are placed, instead of at Clifton Pier, they actually placed on Blue Hill Road, just behind the main BC building, eh? Through that next corner sort of thing. And we have to go to them. And when we go to them, our bill go higher, because diesel is that much higher than fossil fuel cost-wise. So we need a minister of energy to navigate us, while the rest of the world is moving from fossil fuel to natural energy sources like wind and solar. We need to keep up with the Joneses, as they say. In my opinion, we don't need to go to no LNG. And as this war escalates or continues in the Persian Gulf, you know that causing the price for LNG or liquefied natural gas to triple. They said triple last the other day. So if we're thinking about moving from fossil fuel to LNG, and LNG triple, LNG may cost us more now than the fossil fuel we currently using. If this continue to go the way it's going, and we have no control over it. But what if we go to solar and wind? And we don't need wind in this country because we got so much sun, we could just go with solar, right? So what if we just go to solar? Then that means we don't have to have no more big tankers coming in here. So we don't have to have no more fossil fuel, diesel, gas, or LNG coming from the Persian Gulf or anywhere else in the world. We will be using the God-given energy from the sun and the wind. Well, not necessarily the wind, but if we want to, we could do that. But we don't need to because we could just use solar and take care of all of our needs. They got solar arrangement in some countries now that go way beyond our full needs in this country. So we know it can happen. But we need our Minister of Energy, whoever that may be, and I hope it be just somebody just to deal with energy. Have a good look at solar versus LNG, especially with the price of LNG going up all the time. And of course, that may not be a big maritime talk, but it's a maritime talk because LNG got to travel by ship for the volume required to go around the world. Have to happen by ship. But solar? No. You ain't need no ship to bring you solar. Solar come from the sun. So the question is, are we, the Bahamian people, prepared to put enough pressure on our government so that we can make that change from fossil fuel, period, to solar? We ain't need no half step to say we'll come down to here first and then go to that. No, we go straight to solar. Solar is available right now as we speak. We could get solar banks, solar panels, and we already have our grid. We just need solar to feed the grid. We say we could do it for Exuma, 90% solar. We got a couple solar farms already. We got in Freeport and in Nassau, Elutra. And it'd be so easy for the family islands because you ain't need this long transmission lines to come from Clifton Pier all the way uptown with the high tension wires and all that, because you could put solar in different places around the island. You could even put floating solar on the sea. They're making them, they're getting to that stage now where solar is available in all kind of ways. You just want, once you want it, you want to pay for it, you could get it. Anyway, I digress. So the Minister of Transport, as I know it, is always responsible for road traffic, Maritime Authority, Port Department, Post Office. And there was a time when the Minister of Transport was also responsible for aviation, and they call it transport and aviation. Right? And then there were times when aviation came under, like now I think it still comes under Ministry of Tourism and Aviation. I don't know why you can stick aviation as a transportation item under tourism, but that's what they did, right? And they now have energy under transport, as though energy is so small that it needs to combine with something else. And I don't agree with that. We need to change that. Anyway, tonight, boy, I know much of our time done gone. Let me see something. Oh, half of the time, almost half of the time gone. Okay, people. We're going to get to it. We engage discussion surrounding maritime opportunities moving forward. The proverbial bell has been rung. And time is ticking toward the 12th of May election. That's 2 days after the HMBS Flamingo was attacked and sunk by the Cubans. 2 days after that anniversary. So we don't want to lose sight of the most catastrophic attack this country ever suffered at the hands of another country. We don't want to lose sight of that. In fact, I think that's the only time another country ever made an attack on the Bahamas. Definitely after World War II, eh? Or even World War I. The Bahamas never been attacked before. That's the only time. And we take that for granted. What those men went through, what this country did for those men, which is absolutely nothing, in my opinion. There was no reparations paid to any of them by the Bahamas. The four that got killed, well, they got some reparations from the Cuban government that agreed to pay some, I think it was $100,000 each, and then $3.5 million for the ship itself, something like that, right? Which is peanuts. So we continue, because after those four, we lost another four out of the 19, and we continue to have 11 among us, and we're going to dedicate the month of May to those 11 among us in particular. And then we want to talk about those four that died since the incident. And of course, the four that died on impact or lost their lives on impact. So we got the month of May to deal with HMBS Flamingo attacked by the Cuban MiGs. Yes, it's silly season. And up until the 12th of May, I don't know if y'all gonna be listening to us. But you know, we need to know too. What is this government that we as a collective are gonna put in place gonna do about those people that were impacted and affected and their families and whatnot by that attack, where they had no chance of escape? We need to know. We can't let it rest. So, May 10th is our big day for that. 2 days after that, we're going to have election. 1 day after that, we're going to know who's going to be our Minister of Transport. Eh? Well, maybe 2 days, maybe 3 days. But we're going to know shortly thereafter whether we're still going to have Ms. Jobette Kobe Davis, whether we'll have a different PLP candidate as Minister of Transport, whether we'll have an FNM candidate as Minister of Transport, or whether we'll have a COI candidate as Minister of Transport. We will all know 3 weeks down the road. What are the maritime views of our political candidates that are vying to govern us? We need to know. Yeah, you vying to take over all those government posts after election. The one that is vying to be the Minister of Transport, what are your views pertaining to our maritime concerns? Again, whether that be the incumbent, whether that be another person out of that administration, whether that be somebody from the FNM administration, whether that be somebody from COI administration. We don't know. You can afford to pretend. You can't tell the blue in the face, you don't know. But what we can know is who they have earmarked to be Minister of Transport, and what are they saying? What are their views on some of these things? And these things we can talk about it after the break. Right after the break. And the topics for these things would be simply installing a cruise ship pier on each family island in this country. What will be their views? What is the views of the Coalition of Independence? What are the views of the PLP? What are the views of the FNM? When it comes to say, in this next 5 years, we'll develop a plan and we'll install a dock for cruise ship to come in on each of our family islands. What will their views be pertaining our National Maritime Training Institution? Are they going to ensure that they streamline themselves with the international requirement so that the BMA could issue the necessary license to get our people internationally certified to serve on those international, in particular those 1,500 plus big ships we have under our flag? What is the views of the person that is going to take up the seat of Minister of Transport pertaining to that? What will their view be when it comes to implementing or causing the implementation of that local safety certificate regime? We could talk about that till tomorrow. There's so much things concerning about that. What will their views be when it comes to implementing, and this one is more for the Minister of National Security, implementing provisions to ensure that all our BDF personnel are STCW certified in areas for which they hold those posts. Finally, to the Minister of Immigration, what will your view? Whoever's earmarked to be Minister of Immigration, I don't know. Because I've been trying to find out from all parties concerned. That's the COI, the FNM, well, we know the PLP is incumbent. Who is the person you have earmarked to be Minister of Transport? I want to speak with that person. I want to bring that person on the show. I want to know what that person thinking. You know what I came up with? Dear listener? Ditto. Nobody can say, oh, I changed that. Somebody told me who the person would be, and they send me the number. I called the person, we made arrangement, the person didn't show up. I ain't calling no name. Gary no call no name, Gary no blame. But at least they had somebody that they say was their mark, right? But I'm not sure that person know what they was their mark to do. Because when I had a little discussion, they was lost. They know a little bit about road traffic, and that was it. And I ain't calling no name because I ain't carrying no blame. So we need to know that we can have somebody to fully enforce all laws affecting undocumented migrants. And very recently we'd have heard the Minister of National Security, Mr. Wayne Munro, say that they're going to improve or cause the law pertaining to persons hiring migrants to be more steep. But now, I am not one to buy into making a law more stringent when you don't have enforcement to begin with. Less enforcement there now. Aye, man, you can make it as stringent as you want. But when are we going to have the enforcement? Why can't we have the enforcement today? Because the ministries are still going on until we have election. The ministries ain't stopped. The House of Assembly stopped, but the cabinet ain't stopped. So what's stopping us from doing that enforcement today? What's stopping us from getting a listing of which shanty town we are going to demolish over the next 12 months? What's stopping us from getting a listing of which island and which month we're going to ensure that a port is put in place for a cruise ship? If you don't plan it, you ain't convincing me of nothing. Because I have the utmost respect for Superman himself, Mr. Clay Sweeten. Because in my lifetime, Superman has been the only person that hold that post of Minister of Works, whereby the building control department comes. The only one that have went around the country and actually demolished a couple of the shanty towns. I'm not convinced that more shouldn't be demolished or a schedule shouldn't been given to the public to say this is our schedule, because we know where all of them are. But for what he has done, and no previous minister has ever done, well, I should take that back, eh? Because we had a situation, I think, where Minister Shane Gibson demolished an area off Carmichael Road in order to put a government project there. I think that's what happened back in those days. Although they gave him a little flack, you can get a little flack, but to do it is what we want to see. We want to see you do it. We know that these are unregulated communities. We know that Bahamians can't go and do what they're doing. So let's have a schedule as to when will the incoming Minister of Works provide a schedule for demolishing all of the shanty town, and I want to say all of the known ones, but really ain't none we know about. I understand the government know where all of them are. And if you go in certain areas, you'll see where they mark these buildings for demolition, and the building mark is still in there and never come back. So there's no doubt that we know where they are. But what we need is a schedule that we could follow. And we want to see if the action is being followed up. Not just wait till they have a fire and then go move in and say we can make sure they don't put this back. No, we want to deliberately make this happen. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Maritime Matters. And on the show, we talk maritime. We got to move to our voice break. I've been running and ranting and raving for a little while, right? I know you're all tired of hearing my voice. But we'll be back in a few minutes to continue where we left off. And as the show is, only another, 15, 20 minutes to go, we're going to have to get something going with some calls. So please, stay tuned as we move to our voice break.
At One-on-One Pharmacy, our friendly staff is ready to serve you. Visit us today for all your prescription and over-the-counter needs at our East Street South or Charles Saunders Highway locations. We're open Monday through Saturday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and from 9 to 4 on Sundays. In a rush? Send your refill scripts online at oneononepharmacy.com or ask about our convenient pickup service. One-on-One Pharmacy, providing personal health care with people at heart. At Bahamas Maritime Connection Limited, we offer first-class maritime security services throughout the Bahamas and the wider Caribbean. As experts in maritime security, we specialize in production of ISPS assessments and plans, verification audits, certified familiarization training, and port security consultancy, just to name a few. Our services also include provision of a security force to maintain all required ISPS facility security compliance. For all your maritime security needs, visit us today in Nassau at our East Street South location or in Freeport in the Kipling building. Call us at 392-3515 or follow us on all social media platforms. Bahamas Maritime Connection, your leader in maritime security. Let's help you make the connection.
Sitting in the morning sun, I'll be sitting when the evening comes, watching.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. You are listening to Maritime Tick, 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 Tick Matters. And on this show, we talk maritime. Maritime Matter is weekly. That's 17:05, 5:05 p.m. every Tuesday, once a week, here on Love 97 FM. The primary purpose of our show is to sensitize Bahamians of opportunities in the maritime sector. We also cover maritime issues from the domestic and the international maritime feeds. The phone number to reach us, should you wish to get in on the discussion during the show, is 322-5477. Or you can also get us on 322-5683. That's 322-5477 or 322-5683. You can call at any time. To hear a replay of the show or any of our previous shows, simply hit us up at any time via our YouTube page. That's Maritime Matters Bahamas. Just go to YouTube on your electronic device and type into the search box Maritime Matters Bahamas. So let's talk maritime. As we were saying, our top hot topics include the installation or installing a cruise ship pier on each family island. The Bahama Islands, as we said in a previous show, should replicate the Eastern Caribbean with cruise ship docks. There's no country in the Eastern Caribbean that does not have a cruise ship dock. And for reason, simply because each one of them, while they might only be the size of our outer islands, they want their own money, so they want their own dock. So why can't our family islands have their own money because they have their own dock? Is this something that the central government do not want? So, to all the political people out there, all you FNMs, please, somebody call and let us know if your earmarked Minister of Transport, whoever that may be, because I don't know, is prepared to draw up a plan to have a dock installed on each of our family islands within that 5-year period. And to the PLPs, if you're not going to move the current Minister of Transport, just call us and let us know, is that Minister of Transport prepared to provide us with a listing of which islands going to get which dock within that 5 years, so that all of our family islands excuse me, would have the ability to receive a cruise ship within that 5 years of administration. COIs, give us a call. Let us know whoever you have earmarked as your Minister of Transport, that person have generated or is going to be generating, because you know with the show coming on next week too, a list of which family island is going to get their cruise ship berthing dock within the next 5-year period, so that when that 5-year period is up, every family island will have a cruise ship pier to facilitate cruise ships coming to a dock. And if you can't do that, then all of you are wasting time and talking foolishness. Because this country as it stands has the potential to provide at least 10 cruise ship destinations that do not exist today. Do you know that cruise ships are being built 3-4 a year, and they are looking for more and more destinations? And some of the destinations are cutting down. They don't even want cruise ships no more. And our family islands are not being developed because we're not putting cruise ship pairs for cruise ships to even consider going there. And we could do it on a PPP arrangement. It don't have to be the government got to go to the World Bank or to get funding to put in cruise ship pairs. No. Give us, the Bahamians, an opportunity to invest in these cruise ship pairs. Get some entities to manage the activities at that cruise ship pier, because those cruise ships got to pay to use the pier. They got to pay to get the ship tie up. They got to pay to get rid of garbage and whatnot and something. We don't want too much garbage in our family islands, eh? So my thing is, that cruise ship pier is going to make money, just like the cruise ship pier in Nassau Harbor, because we're going to have in that area people selling goods and renting spaces so that the cruise ship passengers could come and buy goods from them. But they got to pay to us who invested in the pier and in the infrastructure as returns on our investment. So unless you're prepared to do that as a Minister of Transport, I am not going to take you serious. And we want to see a schedule, not just, oh, well, we'll do that. No. Put a schedule together. I want to know which island, and I can give you some, I can give you some. You see, as I said, cruise ships are looking for new destinations. We are at the doorstep of the 3 largest cruise home ports in the world. You know what that means? That means that worldwide, these 3 places bring on cruise ship passengers to start a cruise more than anywhere else in the world. And that's Miami, Port Everglades, and Port Canaveral. And they're right there. I mean, come on, man. We should have 1,000 ports waiting for them. Not just 20 or 30. But at least every family island should have one. We need that deliberate approach for the facilitation of cruise ships throughout our country, particularly the Southeast Islands. You see, when they go to the Southeast Islands, they ain't got to worry about no crime. They got beaches piled up like dirt. Most of those islands bigger than Nassau. And then we can start with the low-hanging fruits, eh? Morgan's Bluff. Almost ready to go. Crossing Rocks, right across the road there. Let's put a little, right, the ocean touching it. You ain't got to do much dredging, if any. Stocking Island, right in Exuma Sound, right off from mainland Exuma. Once they get there, they get a little ferry ride for 2 minutes and they in Georgetown. Then we go to places like Devil's Point. And if you put a cruise ship pier, you remember now, Devil's Point is on the southwest side of Cat Island, which means they're protected from the prevailing winds that come from the east. And from Devil's Point, you could go anywhere in Cat Island. And Cat Island have so much to show. Columbus Point, San Salvador. The people realize, boy, this where Columbus landed? Right here? And we right here on this cruise ship? Why do we not have a cruise ship dock at Columbus Point? Port Nelson, Rumkey. You know how much people from Rumkey live in Nassau that would be more than honored to return home once they could find a viable job, and if a cruise ship is coming there, you know how much jobs that's going to generate? So why are we not here yet? Why we could think of these things and say, oh, that makes sense. But why the Eastern Caribbean beat us to the deal? Why they have a cruise ship port in every one of their islands and we don't have a cruise ship port in every one island, and we supposed to have more money than them? Because we just farting around, sitting on our brains. Could you imagine what this country will look like, be like, if cruise ships are going to every single island in our nation? We trying to expand Nassau to take more and more and more ships. What for? And we got all those family islands so the cruise ships could be going to. Landrail Point, Crooked Island. Good to go. Right on the ocean. Just stick one jetty out there with one cruise ship dock on the end of it and bingo! The whole of Crooked Island is open to those 4,000 or 5,000 passengers when they come there. Salina Point, again, well protected from the elements. Again, once you get there, you already in Auckland. Let the people go and explore. You know how beautiful these islands are. Let them know that they get bite with mosquito. Boy, because mosquito could be there sometime, I can tell you that. You know how family islands don't play when it comes to mosquito, eh? Long Island got Clarence Town right there. Man, stick a jetty out there and create a pathway and a port and all that. And it's easy to do with Long Island. People got plenty of money, especially I'm said who live in Nassau, and plenty of them can go back home. Just to make sure that cruise ship port work like how the cruise port in Nassau works. Provide all these things to these cruise ship passengers. And these cruise ships will be happy with the fuel cost going so high to just go island hopping in the Bahamas, because every island is a new destination with its own unique features. We know this. Betsy Bay. Why can't Mayaguana have its own cruise ship dock owned by the people of Mayaguana or the people of the Bahamas, because we put in the money to put it there, because we know every time a cruise ship goes there, we can make plenty of money. Machu Town, right down there with a nice pretty waters is by the lighthouse, right off the ocean. They could come ashore and do a lighthouse tour. We could fix up the lighthouse for them. They could do a Morton Salt tour. They could do a flamingo seeking tour. They could do bird watching tours. Man, there's so much things in Inagua. Why don't they have a cruise ship dock there from long time? Because we are sitting on our brains. Because we are just farting around. Duncantown, Ragged Island. Well, the Defense Force went in, they put some stuff on the inside to protect the boat. But it don't have to be on the inside. It could be on the outside for a cruise ship. If the weather too rough, then you don't go there. Just like sometimes the weather too rough, they can't come in Nassau. Although we have everything in place, but if it's too rough, it's too rough. But for the most part, 90% of the times of the year, they'll be able to go to that dock, go on Ragged Island. You can't do too much on Ragged Island, but there's so much tours they could be doing by boat, because Ragged Island got Nice Key and Raccoon Key and all these keys. They can even with a key name with the Defense Force fella shoot the prize bull. I think that was Raccoon Key. Anyway, they could do so much diving, and you know how pretty those keys are in the Ragged Island chain. Anyway, our time is closing in on us. Unfortunately, we got to finish this next week. We got to talk with this National Maritime Training Institution, to the extent that is a viable training institution, just like the one they have in Philippines, just like the one they have in India, just like the one they have in Ukraine. And well, I know about Ukraine right now, but Ukraine put out a lot of engineers for seafarers, eh? And this is where we want to go. We want to know that our Minister of Transport is aware of these things that need to happen to uplift maritime in our country. And then we focus attention on jobs available. The RBDF could have direct entries coming from the maritime arena. You know what they do in the Royal Navy? Anyway, we ain't got time to go through all that right now, because our time is ticking, right? I can tell you about that next week. We want to be able to reinstate, and we want our Minister of Transport to understand, whoever coming to sit in that chair, we want to reinstate and implement the local safety certificate regime. They took it out of the books. So now the country have no responsibility for maritime safety for non-soulless vessels. And then it is never intended to be that way. Just that the BMA, who's responsible, don't want to do it. And so they just take it off the books just like that. And I'm sure the Minister of Transport don't understand what's going down. Because the Minister of Transport don't even understand what it is to, why is it so important to do surveys of these local boats. The repercussion, if you're not doing surveys, is what you get today. Whenever you have an accident, you have nothing to stand your foot on. Because we ain't got no regulations, we ain't got no criteria in place for these vessels to be properly operated, properly manned, properly surveyed and equipped, and radios and load line and dry docking and all the rest of those things come in to this local safety certificate. So why are we trying to take them off the books? We want to implement provisions to ensure that all RBDF, see, the RBDF is the largest maritime institution in our country and with the most potential. So why is it that the people who are serving on their vessels are not internationally certified to hold those posts? Because we are sitting on our brains. And then we got to understand that we have officers and hierarchies of the defense force who don't have a clue about running a ship, who don't have a clue about the engineering side or the deck side of running a ship. But they got plenty rank. We need to change this. We need the people that are making decisions in the defense force to be experienced people who could serve on ships anywhere in the world. That's where we need to go with this. And last but not least, let me get back next week. We got to talk about enforcing our immigration laws pertaining to people who are hiring undocumented workers or migrants. Because there's just too much of it going on. And if we put our foot down on it, then I'm saying you have no reason to be taking risks to come in. Or Mark say you realize you go there, you can't work no out. Unless you get the proper documentation. And boy, we got to look at them documentation. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it for us tonight. You don't want to call? We'll be back to finish cover these topics. Whether you like them or not, we got to finish covering them. Whether you are COI, whether you are F&M, whether you're PLP, whether you're DNA from back in the day, whether you're independent. We need you to know that if you're coming to sit in that chair as Minister of Transport, what is your intention for upgrading maritime in our country based on these topics? I am your host, Captain Glenn Bain. Our producer for tonight, Mr. Craig Gibson the Great. We have been talking about what we want to expect out of our new Minister of Transport, whether it be Mrs. Jobette Kobe Davis all over again. It'll be a new administration because we will have put you back in there. Whether they're going to change her and put somebody else there from the PLP regime, if we put the PLP back in power, or who is the F&M going to have there if we were to put the F&M power? Who would the COI have there if we were to put the COI in power? And that's what we will discuss today. Thank you very much, Miss Veronique Johnson, for that beautiful call about the Gulf of Hormuz. And boy, we could talk about that till tomorrow. But it's silly season. We got to talk more politics. Politics pertaining to maritime. Don't call them, you talk about no other kind of politics. I don't buy into that, right? And good night again to my good old Annie Mae. Annie Mae, I don't know if you hold on this long this time, but boy, good night to you, honey. You know how we roll. That said, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for listening. Our sponsors, Bahamas Maritime Connection and 101 Pharmacy and Island Care Pharmacy, keep sponsoring us. We got to keep going. And to you, my dear listener, thank you so much again, and keep listening. With that, as always, we say Maritime Matters. Tick, 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 tick. Out.
I left my home in Georgia, headed for the Frisco Bay. I've had nothing to live for. Look like nothing's gonna come my way. So I'm just gonna sit on the dock of the bay, watching the tide